Hey dreamers, this is Saki and welcome back to a new video. I'm really excited that this week I finally figured some awesome techniques on how to create stylized art like you would find it in games like Zelda Breath of the Wild, Genshin Impact or the new Fenyx Rising. Stylized art to me personally is even more interesting than realism, so I was so happy that I finally found a way to do it in Dreams, and the techniques are fairly simple to do as well. As always, I'm happy to share my techniques and teach you guys how to do it, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. So without further ado, let's start creating. So the first thing we want to start with is probably also what got me most excited. It's the techniques that I figured for making stylized grass. For that, we go into the paint mode, choose the streaky flag and pick a color of our liking. For example, you can just use the mixed green colors, which I like to use as well. And then we just start stamping a few of those in a circle until we're happy. Try to give it a lot of variety in them as well, which makes it look a lot better. And yeah, when we're happy with it, we can then go on into the tweak menu on the duplicating page and duplicate them in a circle. You can also stretch it and clone it as many times as you want to. I like to have still a few empty spaces in there since it's just a little bit more realistic in most cases, and this is just how I mostly made my grass. It still looks very good, but it's not really the stylized grass that I was looking for. So with this copy here, we will actually transform it. First, you can activate the finish of the painting, and for grass I mostly go with a very high roughness and a little bit of waxiness as well. Then we go on and adjust the color amount, which really helps for the looks of the stylized grass to give it quite a high color amount, so it has almost one solid color but still a few shades in there. And when we're happy with it, the interesting thing, the idea that I had is, what if I actually just stretch it shorter? I thought that might be a really simple idea but an easy way to do it. Turns out it wasn't like that, but actually the other way around. If we just stretch it all the way up and put it a little bit into the ground, we actually have an amazing look of stylized grass. It is so simple. And it was actually exactly the opposite from what I thought, but it's actually so good. I'm like so happy with the looks of this. Because it is really similar to the kind of grass that you would find in Breath of the Wild and the other games that I mentioned. And you can of course also try out other flags that I'm just showing you right here. It's really up to personal liking, but yeah, I think the streaky flag fits very well there. We can then go on in the tweak menu and go on the effects tab, where we can set the wave and form effect to bring it more to life. It definitely supports it, and this is the great thing about this technique, because you can still use these effects. Of course we could do our self-drawn stylized grass, but for that we can't use the effects anymore. We would need to make it physical, and well, the physical limitations in Dreams are not that high and it's really tricky. Next, I also want to show you a technique how you can actually draw self-made stylized grass, and for that we go into the paint mode again, activate draw flags to have thicker or thinner lines the harder we press R2, and then we just start drawing. We just start drawing our form. It could be looking like this when you're finished. And yeah, this is the grass that we made. Now we just need to actually get a whole patch of it. So for that, we just put it up and we want to tweak it a little bit, activate the finish, give it the same kind of finish for the other grass as well. But for this especially, we want to put the color amount as high as you can possibly do it. Like, you want to go with the 200 for one solid color so you don't see each flag anymore, but I can also recommend you to go with 190 or 195 if you want to remain some kind of shades or structure in the grass. Then we can also go ahead and clone it a few times, give it a little bit of variety, and make sure to merge the painting together then, which saves up gameplay turmoil. Then we can just go into the tweak menu of the painting again and clone it further there to make it as big as you possibly want to, and there we go. Next, I'm gonna show you an easy and fast technique on making really cool looking stylized rocks. For that, we go into the sculpt mode, choose a cube and pick a color of our liking. Here again, you can go for the mixed gray colors, And then we go into the tweak menu or the options menu of the sculpt, activate hard blend and turn it all the way up. Next we want to just start stamping a few cubes within each other, and here you can go for whatever kind of shape you want to, how you want your rocks to look like. And I think this looks already pretty cool, very low poly style, but we want to go on and make a few other tweaks and edits to it as well. Now once you're finished, your rock might be looking like this or maybe not. But in the next step we want to go into the subtract mode, stretch the cube a lot longer and actually now turn the hard blend all the way down to make some very hard cuts. For that you can really go on as you want to. You can leave the rock in a few places as it is, but I like to make a few hard cuts here at first, which also is already pretty interesting if you look at it. Here's a quick look at how my rock looks like now. And it already looks very stylized. It has really interesting shades on it automatically because of the hard blend. And next you want to turn the hard blend to about 2 or 3% and just cut over your hard cuts again. In that way we make some very interesting edits to it and actually add a little bit of those stylized elements that you can see at cuts and corners especially, and here you can see it as well when I turn up a little bit closely. It is really interesting and I haven't seen the looks of this before, or I never used it like that, but I find it really cool, and in that way you can easily get a very stylized look to it. Now in the next step you can add even more detail by adding some scratches with the white color, and you can of course also hard blend these again. You can just make as many little adjustments and updates to it as you want to. Here's a quick look at how my rock looks like now. In the next step we want to go back into the tweak menu and turn the color amount up. I feel like for those stylized elements they often have a solid color and it definitely supports the style with barely any shades on it. With the finishes here you can really try around. I didn't completely figure out what's the best for it. I feel like those can also be a little bit waxy, which I normally don't do for rocks, but you can really try out for yourself. Just the roughness also looks really good here. And yeah, here I'm just showing you a little example of the differences with a little bit of metalness on the right, a little bit of waxiness on the left. And yeah, try out for yourself, try around with different colors, different finishes. You can also of course add a mossy version of the rock without adding any more thermo at all, just by using the technique that I showed you in my top 10 advanced tips and tricks video. Now at last for this video I want to show you how to make stylized trees. And I really thought about how I can actually achieve stylized look of trees, and it was quite interesting because I just went for the pretty much same ideas that I had for the rocks and wondered if it would work as well, and it actually worked perfectly fine. I was just trying this out for this video as well. So at first you want to go for a basic shape of the tree as we usually do with the curvy tool. It's really useful for all kind of tree kind of stuff and even more. Then we just want to go on and add more detail with the same technique of hard blend that we did for the rock, but this time without subtracting. Well, you can also try subtracting, but here I just put the same kind of shape but thinner and hard blended it into the basic bark that we did, and it worked pretty well in my opinion. I think it looks quite cool and definitely has some stylized tree vibes. And you can of course also use it to add more branches to the tree, and then we go on and add more detail and round up some things, make it as perfect as you want to. And you can add even more detail by just cutting a little bit into it and cloning that around the tree. This is a technique that I found pretty cool for creating some structure in the tree, more detail, and also adding up to that stylized element. Here's the finished base that I had. For the finishes this time we can go for a little bit of waxiness, and it can work either way around. You can make it a little bit shiny, you can make it a little bit rough, and the cool thing is we can also use this base again to expand on the branches, and it actually looks pretty damn cool. And it's also not too gameplay thermo heavy, so you can actually go ahead and clone it quite often. Here I'm also giving you a quick look on how you can make stylized leaves. For that, I use a stretch sphere and spray paint on it with the dots flag and surface snap activated. In the tweak menu, again, I would recommend you to put a high color on it. You can of course go with any color you want to. For the finish, I recommend you to go with roughness again and waxiness, but it's really up to you. Try out for yourself, find your own kind of style out of the techniques that I'm showing you. One thing I really like here is to actually stretch the flags again. Looks cool in either way around, and yeah, then you just want to go ahead and place them on your tree. This is also, it can look very different, but in the end, for me, it looks like this. I'm really looking forward to what you are creating, and here's a quick look at all the stylized elements that we created. I am so happy with how this actually looks like, and it is amazing to find out stuff like this. I just enjoyed the process so much as well, and one more thing here, especially for the Zelda Breath of the Wild kind of style. You can actually add this kind of cell shading effect from Breath of the Wild if you turn up Posterize in the Grade and Effects gadget menu. Now this is so cool and it really supports this whole style. I would really love to see a whole game like this, and yeah, here's another quick look at the world and how it really looks like with the whole style. Some of you probably know that I'm developing the Crystal Guardian with my team, and we will feature a whole atmospheric world in a similar style to that. So that will be exciting, and I had so much fun in exploring these techniques, and it got me so excited. So I really hope you're happy with the video as well. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, some feedback, and share it with others so they can learn these techniques as well. Next Wednesday, I'll actually have another tutorial up specifically focusing on making stylized water. So if you don't want to miss out on that, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell if you haven't already. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.